Hello and welcome to Unfiltered Eat Better, Think Better series. This is where we get real about our emotions, our mindset, connection to food, and healing, and what it really takes to break free and feel good in your body and life again. I'm your host, Janie Shah, and in this series, I sit down with everyday people who face challenges with their health, body, their mind, their confidence, or long-held beliefs that have held them back and found powerful ways to rise and grow through it all. These are real stories, no filters, no fluff, just raw conversations about what they struggled with, what actually helped, and how they created transformation from the inside out. Whether you're on your own journey or just curious on what's possible, you are in the right place. Here's to eating better, thinking better, and living a phenomenal life. Let's go. So today's guest is Darshni. She's my cousin sister, but she's like my big sister. And she has a really important story to share today. Sometimes the hardest stories to tell are the ones where we ourselves don't look good, right? Where we've done something that we're not very proud of. And the moments when maybe we've hurt the people we love the most because we were hurting on the inside. And I'm so grateful and thankful for Darshni for coming forward and sharing her story with immense courage, because it does take courage and bravery to share something that we've struggled with. We're going to talk a little bit about self-worth. We're going to talk about how working on herself has helped her to be a better mother, and how that pain that she was holding on to showed up in her role as a mom. But there was also a breaking point that turned everything for her. And I think it's that moment where she realized, I can't go on like this, which I really want to dive into, because I think that's really going to help and support anyone else who's kind of going through this. So I'm going to welcome Darshni on right now. Right, well, hi Darshni, and welcome. Thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story with us. I guess I'd love to just kind of start all the way at the beginning, and maybe let's start with what called you to share this particular part of your journey, because there's been so much. I mean, I've learned so much from you, and there's been a lot that you've gone through. But what called you to share this particular part about you, your mom, your son, and what's going on there?
Because I think it's pivotal in my life at the moment. And also, parenting is a tough topic. People are very sensitive about first being told or possibly being shown that maybe what you're doing is not right, or the other way around.
Yeah.
It's such a sensitive topic. And for me personally, it was not something I even thought about or considered until I hit my breaking point.
Yeah.
But I've seen how different my son is today versus when he was 2 years old or 3 years old. And the transformation in him, the growth in him, the emotional maturity in him is, I don't see that very often. And this is not to judge other kids or other people, but even his teacher will say, even people who've met him will say, he's very emotionally mature.
Yeah.
And that's come from work. It doesn't just come, it doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I've seen the benefit, it's something I would like to share. I would like to talk about. It's not easy, but I think people can probably gain something from this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the important part here is that it was you who changed.
Yeah.
And it was the work that you did
Absolutely.
that then had a knock-on effect on your son.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe take us back to that season of life where things weren't so good. What was going on there and what were you feeling?
Wow, so there was a lot going on. Just a lot of stuff happening in my personal life that was threatening my security. So security within my home. And I felt like even between my husband and me, we were almost getting disconnected. It was just so much happening that for each of us to process it, we couldn't do it together. And I was pregnant at the time. I felt pregnant when this happened. The event's not really relevant because it's more about the emotional impact. Because I was pregnant at the time, I think it hit me harder, because if I'm not secure and I don't feel safe, how am I going to keep my child secure or safe?
Yeah.
And through the pregnancy, like I pushed through. I'd heard people talk about, positive thinking,
Yeah.
talk to your baby. And as much as I'm very in tune with all of that now, and maybe there's a part of me that agreed with all of that, I was so logical and so clinical that I didn't really think about it at that time. I didn't really pay attention to it. And so whatever I was going through, I never, connected to my child at the time and said, you are okay. This is my problem. I'm going through it. Um, then I had my son. And I think the first week I was okay. I was in hospital for the whole week. He had a really tough, like it was a tough delivery, tough first week of his life. And then after that, the impact of having a child, somebody to be responsible for, I think hit me, hit my husband. And to be honest, that first year of his life, I don't really remember. I was away for the first 6 months of his life. So I was in the UK. My husband was here. I had Zion in the
He was
UK.
with you, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
Zion was born in the UK. And just because of just his health and whatnot in the first 3 months, we stayed on. And then we just finished the vaccinations and I wanted him to just be fully healthy before we came back.
Yeah.
But then I don't remember the first couple of years of his life after that because it was just so stressful for me. I was barely surviving. Maintaining home, trying to maintain a relationship, just sanity was really difficult. And the one person who probably needed the most of my attention didn't get any.
Yeah.
He was a very, very well-behaved child. And I say well-behaved, he cried when he was hungry.
Yeah.
We didn't hear much from him. He was a very happy kid from what I remember.
Yeah.
But what I know now is that he was trying not to make it difficult for us energetically.
Wow.
And so that's just what I've learned now. But at the time, the first year, from when he turned 6 weeks, if I recall correctly, he slept all night. He would have all his feeds during the day, and from 7 till 7, he would sleep.
Yeah.
And so, I would be up until maybe 12, 1 painting to just try and get my own time.
Yeah.
But one thing is when you have a child, you're never free. Mentally, you're always thinking about one other person.
Yeah.
And when you have a lot going on, the kind of person I am, I need to introspect. I need time out to process, to be able to cope with things. When I had him, I had no time.
No time to do
And
that.
so the inability to process whatever was happening piled on. And one day, all I remember was just being so angry with this child. He was 2 years old. I don't remember what he was doing. I'm sure he was just being a child. And I just needed space, but I didn't have it. And I was angry. I mean, livid. I was shaking him.
Wow.
And I know a lot of us have grown up, we've been slapped, we've been, that's the discipline we've had.
Yeah.
I don't know if I ever consciously thought I'm never going to do that to my son, or that is a mode of discipline I'm going to use. But in that moment, when I was shaking him, I don't remember how it got to that, but I just remember having an out-of-body experience. It was like I was watching myself do that to him.
Yeah.
But it was the expression on his face. It was just shock. He didn't cry. It was just shock. It was like, what the heck is happening?
Yeah.
And in that moment, I kind of stepped back and I realized I don't want to be this kind of a mom. He doesn't deserve this.
Yeah.
And that for me was my breaking point. When I saw myself as a kind of mother that I was, and that got me onto this
that was the breaking point
that
for
was
you.
my breaking point, seeing myself. But like I said, it was an out-of-body experience. It was
Yeah.
watching me do this to a 2-year-old, just trying to gain control. That was it. I just needed control, and I was using him to gain control.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many times before that I may have done the same thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But at that point, I was like,
Enough.
This has to stop. It's
Yeah.
not his fault. This is not his problem. But he is going to suffer because of me, and I can't have it.
Yeah. And it's crazy though, because you don't know how many times it happened before that, but this particular moment really struck you. And this is the thing, I love what you said. He's like, he was probably just being a child, right? So children are allowed to be children. And it's often, if not most of the time, it's not the child's fault, right?
It's never the
us.
child's fault.
It's never the child's fault.
It's never the child's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now when you had that moment, what did you turn to? Where did you go? What did you even realize to be like, I need to get help? Where do you even turn to?
So I know we've just spoken about this, but crazy enough, when I was 21, I read a book by Brian Weiss. He's an American psychologist, a hypnotherapist, and it's called Many Lives, Many Masters. There was something in that book that just hit home with me. I was 21 years old or 22 years old. I'd just finished uni, came back to London, and the gist of that book is a lot of what's happening today is linked to our past. But in that book specifically, there's a lot of past life regressions and the connection between present life story to past life history. That kind of something just triggered me with that. It resonated with me so deep. And immediately I was thinking about it. I booked an appointment for a regression therapist. Then I panicked because I was like, I don't know what this is about. And so I called my mom and she was like, yeah, this is really like intriguing, but are you sure? And I think she was a little bit freaked out.
Yeah.
And it completely allowed me to just lean into the fear and say, okay, I'm not doing this now.
Yeah.
But from that time, it's crazy how the universe works out. So when I met my husband today, the first friend of his that I met, his fiance, they'd just gotten engaged as well. His fiance, who's younger than me, somehow we got onto the topic of hypnotherapy and regression therapy.
Yeah.
And honestly, in the 20 years or 10 years from the 22-year-old to the 31-year-old that I've never met anybody my age who even thought about this.
Thought about that. Yeah.
And who was even intrigued about it. So when I met her, we were able to converse. We had that in common, like really strongly in common. Then we got married a year later when I fell pregnant. For the first time ever, the guru, the founder of Eka, came to Kenya to do the course.
Yeah, and Eka is the
school
for anyone listening.
Yes,
Yeah, so not
that's the institution where I learned regression therapy. But they came to Kenya for the very first time, and that was in 2015. And this friend of mine did the course. I couldn't do a course, and I don't think I was ever interested in doing the course at that time, but I was pregnant. And in that year of my pregnancy, I was teaching makeup. And one of my students was this friend's partner in regression therapy in this course. She was a student of mine as a makeup in makeup. And my baby shower, my friend called her for help. So this Kinneri, essentially Kinneri. So she helped my friend to throw my baby shower. And it's the second time I met her.
Right.
And then the third time I met her was when she called me to do her makeup for her photo, like I don't know, the flyer or something. She's a teacher at this.
Yeah.
And when I was doing her makeup, we were talking, and she said, you should come for a session, try it.
Yeah.
You just never know. And I was like, yeah, okay. Again, not really like sold on the idea, even though deeply I knew this was it. But logically
it wasn't there yet.
I was not quite there. So when this happened, I knew I was never going to go to a regular traditional therapist. For me, talking about stuff just does nothing for me. I'm always processing my own stuff. I don't need somebody to hear me out just to hear me out.
Right.
But also in that moment, I realized I wanted to just walk away from everything. And at that point, even Zian, I was happy to walk away from if I thought that was the best thing for him. So before I took that step, before I, like, say, walk away from marriage or walk away from my home or my son, I wanted to understand why I made those choices, because at no point was I forced to get married. There was no pressure to have a child. Everything was my choice. And I wanted to understand what drove those choices. And the only way I was going to believe the answers was when it came from me.
From you.
I don't want somebody to tell me. I want to understand it for myself.
And I think just on that point, it's really important because it's that moment where you recognize everything was your choice, right? So many of us go through life saying, no, that happened to me, that happened to me. Things don't happen to us, right? And inevitably, we have a role to play in it. And when you take on that acceptance that this was my choice, that I did this, you then get to a place where you can be like, well, you know what? Then I can find the solutions.
Absolutely, because for me, it was, if I walk away from this without understanding why it will happen, it is going to follow me. Something else is going to happen. Am I then going to be in a better position or worse position?
Worse,
And am I going to have to lose a lot of things to lose more things? Do you know?
Exactly.
So,
And interestingly, everything sort of lined up for you. It's like since you were 22, 21, you were already in the mind space and you had heard about regression therapy, and then you moved to Kenya, you met these people again and again, and then the moment you actually needed the help,
it was
you just knew, like, well, I'm gonna go there.
It's crazy. What happened? I texted Kinnary.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really do need to come and see you. When can I make the appointment? And within minutes, she messaged back. Then I switched off my phone because I did not want to cancel the appointment.
Yeah.
And I am the sort of person, when I commit to something, I won't back out.
Yeah.
But I switched off my phone because I didn't want any part of me to say, uh-oh, do you really want to do this? And that was how I got into regression therapy.
Yeah.
I think my sessions personally have been incredibly powerful from day one and transformative from the first day, which I know a lot of people don't have, just from experience now being a therapist as well. But it's because I took ownership of my issues.
Yeah, I think that's the beautiful first sort of point.
When I went in, I know this is on me. I need to know my answers, and I want to know why I chose this. Why did I choose this? What part of me made me choose this stuff? And because of that, because I didn't go in saying, this is how my relationship is, this is what's happening at home, this happened to me and my husband, this happened to my son. I didn't do any of that.
I'm actually just curious. So what were you going in with?
So that was the funny thing, because I messaged Kinnary and I just assumed she would know. So when I went in, and she asked me, so what can I do for you? I was blank. I was like, I don't know. I don't know why I'm here. And then I guess I was like, okay, I don't like where my life is at, but specifically, I don't like the person I am physically. I'm not a good mother, and I don't say that lightly. I want to be a good mother to him, but I don't know how to do this any differently. And I don't want to be this person for him.
Right.
And so based off of that, then she took my background, upbringing, relationships, parental, sibling, familial, everything, completely comprehensive history. And then from that, it kind of just built on.
And as you started the hypnotherapy, the regression therapy, at some point, I think it'll be good to explain to anyone watching or listening what regression therapy is. But as you started doing this, what did you start to understand or uncover about the connection between your inner world and then how you were behaving or acting on the outside with your son?
So the feeling of lack of control and absolute helplessness in my own life was a reflection of me trying to gain control in the one aspect I should have control, which is my son. He's a child, he has to listen to me.
Right.
And that was what was happening. I needed control. and I didn't have it in any aspect of my life, but I was trying to enforce it in the one thing that I thought I had to have control over, and I had a right to have control over. Because if I go back to childhood, I always listened. If I was told stop, I stopped. And to me, that's what it's supposed to be. If you're being told to stop, stop it. I didn't take into account that he's 2 years old, he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
It never, we grew up different,
Yeah.
and that's all I knew. So
Yeah.
that, yeah, and it really was that, just trying to gain some level of control. And that's what I just thought discipline is how you do it,
How you do
not
it,
love.
right? Yeah. It's so interesting because often when I work with clients, this aspect of control always comes about. And when we're unable to control our inner workings, right? Like our inner emotions, our inner turmoil that's going on, we try to tend to control something else on the outside. And that's why doing the inner work is really important.
Yeah.
Because then you can be able to actually be in control of everything and anything. Yeah. So now how or what had to shift then for you to now become the mother that you wanted to be?
So, wow, this is going back to 2018 now. In the first, so the first few sessions that I had, actually none of my sessions at the start had anything to do with Sia. Everything was about me. And for me, it was understanding that I had, as a child, I perceived my upbringing as being neglected, as not being good enough, not being lovable, and ultimately not having any self-worth or self-respect.
Right.
And every choice that I would have made in my life after that would reflect it. So even like getting married, I don't know if, society pressure is, you go to school, you go to higher education, uni, finish all of that, get married, you have kids, and if you're not following that, you feel like a failure. Even if it's not something that you're truly aligned to, you feel like, if I don't have this, I'm really not good enough.
Yeah.
I really haven't got what other people have. And finding the core moments in my childhood that led me to believe all of these things about myself. I created those belief systems, but what were the perceived traumas that caused me to create these belief systems?
Yeah.
When I went into those moments and seeing those moments again, reliving some of them, but with the wisdom of today, with the wisdom of being an adult, I was able to unwind a lot of the belief systems, change the belief systems, and automatically it changed me as a person. So even my interactions with Zian just innately changed because I was not reacting towards him. I was not trying to gain anything from him. I was just present with him. I was allowing him to be who he was because I was more accepting of who I was. And that subtle shift within created a huge shift in Zian.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that because now your interaction and how you're showing up is so different. And so he's now, because also he's a kid, right? So he's also making his own interpretations, his own meanings, and his own beliefs at this point as well.
Absolutely.
And now you're showing up in a completely different way. So yeah, I can see why that would then have a knock-on effect.
I'll tell you what he was like. Up until he was maybe 2.5, I started this journey when he was about 2.5, maybe going on nearing 3. But he had anxiety over people. He was comfortable with one of the people he knew. So he was comfortable with my in-laws, obviously husband and me, and then my husband's sister and there's her nucleus. But outside of that, it was my mom and dad, and where our parents live. There's 4 houses. There's a lot of people there. He would go into my parents' house, but he would not step foot in any of the other houses. He would have a full-blown panic attack. He would melt down, he would cry, and he wouldn't even allow my husband to step in. He wouldn't allow Mirage to step in. He was, you couldn't sing happy birthday to him. He would have literal panic attacks. So for the first 5 years of his life, we never celebrated. We didn't do happy birthdays. He was,
Wow.
yeah, he was really traumatized, and I didn't really pick up on that early enough.
Yeah.
But if you meet him today, you know him.
Yeah,
He
I was
is-
gonna say, like, I can see the difference as well from before to now, and how much more comfortable, confident he is,
Yeah.
and just being able to interact with different people. And he's so caring as well.
He's a
I've
very
never seen,
compassionate child.
yeah, I've never seen, how old is he? Not
Nine,
six,
yeah.
he's 9, right? But
Yeah.
even I would say 2 years ago, I've never seen someone who's like 7 years old who's that caring and looking out for other people
Yeah.
before, I've just never seen that. It's beautiful
He's
to see
incredibly
that.
compassionate.
Yeah.
He used to get bullied in school, and the mum approach is, no violence, tell your teacher, talk to, explain to them, whatever.
Yeah.
And the dad approach is knock the guy out. You got to learn to defend yourself, knock him out. And Zian's response was, but I cannot hurt another person. And so Mirage and I had to train him into learning to protect himself by telling himself, I'm protecting myself, I'm not hurting another person. And if that means first just defend, if it means push, if it means throw a punch, but it comes from self-defense. We had to teach him that because he
He
could
just
not.
didn't want to, yeah.
Yeah, he would tell them to stop. He would maybe push his hands up, but he would not hit back, no matter what. We'd be like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
Interesting. And now he has to be able to stand up for himself.
Yes,
And all of us have to learn to set our
Absolutely.
boundaries and stand up.
absolutely. So he'll do that, but he still will not. He will not hit. He will not throw. Even if he will push somebody off, but that is as far as it will go. And then he will get help, but he will not hurt.
Yeah.
somebody else. It's just
him.
It's just him.
Yeah. Such a cute kid.
Yeah.
I'm curious, knowing everything that you know now, because I'm sure a lot of moms might be curious about this, is how do you forgive yourself for those first few years?
I didn't know any better.
Yeah.
I'm no mum goes out of their way to do their second best. You do the best with what you have, and I didn't have enough awareness to do anything differently. So I don't blame myself. I actually commend myself that I stepped up at the right time when everything was laid out for me. I did take that opportunity. I stepped up,
Yeah.
and Zine was young enough.
Yeah.
From that moment on, we've done a lot of work on Zian as well. Through Marriage and myself, we've worked on Zian to help him, to free him of our baggage.
Right.
He will always have his own. That's his journey. He's got to go through whatever. But what's ours, he doesn't.
He doesn't need, yeah. Yeah. And I think, wow, that's a really big point, because so many of us tend to, I don't know what the word is, but imprint on our kids, or like we try to say, oh, we never got to do this, so I'm going to make sure my kid does X, Y, Z. And that's you trying to push your agenda onto your child, and that's not their journey. Like they've just got to be them and express it themselves. But I think this is the thing. You knew the best that you knew then, and now that you have more information, you have more knowledge, you do better. And it's the same for all of our parents, for everything that we've gone through in life. They knew the best that they knew and how to do the best that they knew, right? So there really doesn't need to be any guilt that you carry around it, as long as you just make that decision to say, well, you know what, today I'm going to be different.
It's funny, people ask me as well, when they hear the details of my story, they ask, do you have a good relationship with your parents, and are you on good terms with everyone? And the answer is absolutely yes. I do not hold my mum and dad accountable for anything, because they did the best they could with what they had. They loved me in the way they knew how to love me. And it wasn't easy for them with having another child who was diabetic. My whole life she's been diabetic. they've had a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
As a child, I wasn't aware of it, but 100% as the adult today, I don't hold them responsible at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so grateful for that,
exactly.
actually.
Exactly. We wouldn't be where we are today without
100%.
them. So makes sense. We're gonna start wrapping up, but two things. One, we're gonna speak about what regression actually is very briefly. But before that, what does being at peace with yourself mean for you today?
That's a big topic. That's a big question because peace comes in many forms. For me,
Let's say as it relates to motherhood then.
Towards motherhood's always going to be a challenge. There's always a journey. I can't say I'm always at 100% peace. What I am at peace with is knowing that I am going to mess up. But I also know that I have the awareness to recognize when I'm not doing something right, when I can see it in my son, and I immediately will work on myself for that. So
Yeah.
my peace comes from knowing that at no point am I complacent. At no point am I thinking I know it all and I'm the best that I'm ever going to be.
Yeah.
And I have the tools to make sure that I am doing the absolute best I can for my son. And that for me brings peace to being a mom in my capacity.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I think that's the key, right? Is that we're always going to be evolving, we're always going to be growing, and we're doing the best at that point in time.
Yeah, and we're human.
And we're human. Yeah. As long as we just say, look, we've got these tools with us right now, we're going to use them, we're not going to ignore them. And then if you have that passion and thirst for curiosity and learning, you always grow. And as you grow and let go of your baggage, then you give your child less baggage.
To be honest, I'm actually doing hypnotherapy. I'm seeing that. I've asked him, can I help you, if he has certain fears. And so I asked him, can I help you with that? Mummy's a hypnotherapist, mummy's a regression therapist. Will you work with mummy?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. And so we've been doing it together.
Yeah.
And loves it.
It's beautiful. And honestly, working with kids is so good and it's so easy because their imagination is just like,
it's crazy.
It's always open and that's how our mind works. It works with imagination.
Absolutely.
So working with kids is wonderful. It's so easy.
It is.
Yeah, and then just very briefly on past life regression, because some people who may be listening or watching may not know what it is, but two, sometimes people can be freaked out. Like how you were freaked out very initially when you were in your 20s. You're like, no thanks, I don't even know what that is. I don't want to get stuck in the past. It's just like a very brief on what it actually means to do a regression session.
So you're essentially going to go to a therapist when you're not feeling great, which means that a part of you is triggered. If you were able to handle the situation, the adult in you today can absolutely handle anything because you're the adult, you have the resources. When we're not resourceful is when there's a child part of us that has taken over. And so when you go for regression therapy, all you're doing is acknowledging this child, understanding what happened to this child for them to feel whatever they were feeling. And you're using the adult of today and the wisdom that the adult has to help this child understand, look, this is what's happened. Why did it happen? What did you learn from it? And what does the child need to feel peace? And ultimately, you find that and you resolve it. And that child is then at peace. So the adult can just be the adult.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really beautiful summary. And what I tell all my clients is that remember that when you're coming into a session, you can never relive the past, right? So you'll see things, it's like you're watching a TV screen, you can look back at what's going on. You can never relive it, you're just reviewing it. You're reviewing it in a sense. And I guess this is where probably there's a difference in practice.
It is,
which is going to be a whole other session on its own.
Sometimes experiencing it and reliving that moment brings all the emotions you felt to the surface and then you close it. Because sometimes when you don't fully experience it, that underlying emotional charge sometimes stays on. And so when the client is experiencing it, we're supporting that experience. They know that they're safe. They're experiencing it, but after experiencing it, the resolution they get is crazy. It's tremendous.
Yeah, that's true. And it's probably a topic for another day, like on all these different modalities and ways to experience. For anyone who is a mom that might be listening and feeling that, oh wow, I actually also feel like I'm not the best for my son, what sort of one piece of experience you would share with them?
If you feel you're not the best for your son, it means you're not the best within yourself. Then that is your opportunity to work on yourself. Because only when you're your best version can you put forward your best mom self. So yeah, if you are feeling nobody can judge you except yourself, if you're judging yourself at not being the best, then work on yourself. There's so many, therapy is so common today. It's not as taboo as it used to be. And it's also about, you know what, doesn't matter if it's taboo. Step up and do what you feel is right for your child and for yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Darshni. I think you sharing your story is a really beautiful reminder that doing the inner work and finding peace on the inside gives us peace on the outside. So no matter what's going on outside, you're so comfortable, confident, and you know your worth now that everything on the outside is
It's a
whole,
reflection.
yeah, it's a reflection of that. So to close with the final question that I ask all my guests is that if healing had a voice, what would it say to you right now?
You're there. You're done. You know how to do it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So if this conversation resonated with you, helped you, or made you feel seen, please be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss an episode. And come join our free Facebook community, Eat Better, Think Better. It's where these conversations continue and where you'll find real people walking the same path. If you're ready to go deeper in your own journey, whether it's healing your relationship with food, shifting your mindset, or breaking free from beliefs that are holding you back, you'll find more support, resources, and ways to work with me at www.eatbetterthinkbetter.com. Until next time, here's to eating better, thinking better, and living a phenomenal life. Let's go.